Tomorrow morning, Nyan is going to do their token generation event. This is what's deemed a AAA game, so let's go through it on how you can potentially get some tokens at a decent price. So here we are at Twitter, Nyan, and I've already covered this in a very, very small way. But if you want a little bit more information on the game, go check out Jupiter's channel because they did apply for the LFG Launchpad previously, last month. However, they didn't get it and they've decided to go with the centralized exchange. Now, I'm not overly bullish or bearish. I think this is good for the industry. However, because I don't game, it's not something that I personally will take part in. What we can see though is that the official launch partner is Bybit, and this is happening May 21st, 8 a.m. UTC, which means it's like 3 a.m. or something like that for people in New York. So this is more for people in Asia. Having a look at their link tree, there's plenty of decent information here. Basically, you can still try and go and use Season 2 to do the Plater airdrop kind of mission. If you do these missions, you will be able to claim some catnip. I have no idea what the reward ratio will be like, but personally, I'm not spending any time on it. Also, they do have NFTs, but as far as I'm aware, a snapshot has already been taken at the beginning of May, so these will not have any real value. They had a massive price last year, and then they came down fairly low, and then slightly up to like 4 Sol in March, and now you can see they're at 2 Sol. So you just got to keep this in mind that, if you're early, great, sell a little bit here. If you just want to buy here and then you're left with them down here, you just got to be careful with these token generation events and expecting some sort of token. We can see the same thing happening on Magic Eden. Now, one of my researchers has gone and researched this. They've put all the information here and I'm sharing the link with you. This is hours and hours and hours. The first thing I'm going to say to anyone that's going to put in comments, the opening statement is Nyan is a AAA team based competitive shooter, etc., etc. Well, I may as well read it. Featuring cats piloting giant mechs, leveraging Solana blockchain technology for true asset ownership and an engaging gaming experience. So the thing that people are going to point out is that it's not actually a AAA game, because a AAA game means it comes from a professional studio like EA Sports, Ubisoft, those sort of companies, whereas this is formed with people that have worked for those. So it's not actually a AAA game because they've got like $15 million in funding and not $100 or $200 million in funding. So just keep that in mind. Nevertheless, in terms of blockchain gaming, they have very little actual competition, and so they could definitely do well. They are mostly targeting Web 2 users and then having a Web 3 route if people are keen. So you can go through all this if you like. You can play the game if this is what interests you. But I think most people are really just going to want to get a little bit of catnip by maybe doing some missions or by just trying to get the token at a discounted price. There are a few things, there's a couple of giveaways you can enter as well, but we're going to go over the launch pool in a second. But firstly, the tokenomics. So when it comes to these sort of tokenomics, you have to understand that gaming is different to everything else. The VC investment, the amount of money and time that goes into a game, it's not, a couple thousand hours like say a decent DeFi app to get it to a beta stage. It's, tens of thousands of hours to get it to the point where you can see anything, and then hundreds of thousands of hours on top of that as well. At least that's my understanding. So you can see that we have 1 billion Nyan, community incentives, 33.5%, and then everything else like this. There's going to be a decent amount for basically the team and advisors and stuff like that. Now the token can be used for various things. So purchases, upgrades, staking rewards, incentivize long-term holding, and influence game development as a governance aspect. That's not really interesting to me, but it may be to you. And then airdrop seasons, reward early and continuous participation. If you want to earn some of Nyan, read through these things and give it a go. But remember, you can go and do things like CoinGecko. If you've got some candies, you can go and enter this little raffle. The prize pool is very small at 7,000 Nyan tokens, and there's only going to be 70 winners. I have no idea what one Nyan token will be worth. I'm thinking it's going to be like 20 to 30 cents, but I do think it could go well later on in the cycle. The real question is, will it outperform Solana? Like, is it going to do a 4x or a 5x from this point? We'll have to work it out once the price actually goes up. Here's some information on the actual NFTs, but once again, I'm not excited for them. And a little bit of a review on, does this have product market fit? 1.3 million users and a top 5 wishlist ranking on the Epic Game Store. Now, I've learned a decent amount of information on gaming at Solana Crossroads, which was a very worthwhile event. You should go next year. And one thing I learned is that there's a retention rate, which basically means there's a high churn through games. So 1.3 million could mean a month later, it's only like 700,000 or less. Gaming's hard. It's very, very hard, even if you spend hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's still worthy of pursuing, but it is hard. Also, I made an error before. I said they raised 15 million. They actually raised 13 million. And they did this over 3 funding rounds, and they actually started in 2021. Now, in terms of their social media activity, it's very decent. I don't know how many people are just trying to farm the catnip in order to get the token, or how many people are actually interested in the game. So now the actionable. If you have a Bybit account, you may want to go and put some USDT to work and try and get some of these tokens. We'll go over that in a second, but remember, there will be liquidity pools on the Solana blockchain. I don't know if the team is going to deploy them or if just community will actually deploy them. But there's not going to be a meteor pool where you can bid at a low price. You can go and set some orders really, really low once we find out what the contract address is with, say, dupe limit orders or dupe DCA, but I don't think it's actually going to work out very well. This is more of a centralized approach. So what we have here, and I'll have my referral link below, so if you're not using Bybit, please use it, help me out, help the channel. We have basically stake and earn tokens for free. You stake, and then they get locked up, and then you get them after the 28th. So when you get some Nyan, you can go and put in here, and the APR is 800%. This is, of course, is going to come down to maybe 100 or even probably less because there's a decent amount of hype around this game. There's a decent number of tokens, but still, relatively speaking, this is less than 1% of the supply. It's really actually quite tiny. 1% of the supply would be 10 million tokens. So you can go and stake them as long as you don't plan on selling them, and then you may get some extra Nyan, or you can stake MNT. I have no idea what that is, but this is probably the pool which is going to make the most amount of sense for people. Remember, the APR will come down, but maybe you go and put in like 5,000 USDT, and maybe after a few days, you've got like $50 worth of tokens. Maybe, just maybe. I have no actual knowledge what's going to happen, but this is what I'm going to be entering in. I'll enter this in 22 hours. You will see there's a VIP tag here, but in order to become a VIP of Bybit, you need quite a bit more actual trading volume. So most people will not qualify for that yet. Anyway, that's 9 heroes. I'm not sure exactly how the game's going to go. I'm not sure exactly how the token's going to go. Tokens have not been launching like that and then continuing like that. They're basically gone like this and then like that. So we'll see how things go. But I do think if you have a Bybit account, a little bit of USDT, you may want to go and jump into that pool. It's not a liquidity pool. There's no impermanent loss. You're just staking the tokens in order to get some Nyan. That's all for this video. Catch you in the next one.